Chelsea just lost 1-0 at home to bottom of the table Southampton this weekend, and the entire football sphere has started questioning Graham Potter's credibility as manager of Chelsea. I've heard things like, is Potter picking the right team? Is his style of play good enough? And probably the biggest of them all, is he the right man for Chelsea moving forward? Now, there's no doubt that recent results haven't been pretty. Since the World Cup, Potter has just 2 wins in 11 in all competitions, which has led to immense criticism by Chelsea fans, the media, and even some rival fans. And you know you're in trouble when rival fans start questioning your credibility, because we would like nothing more than seeing Chelsea crash and burn. But in all seriousness, do we know definitively if Graham Potter is the wrong man for the job? In this video, we're going to look at on the pitch and off the pitch factors like underlying performance stats, injuries, transfer spend, and the overall impact of the Chelsea ownership to answer this very question. If you like what you see in this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel to never miss out on content just like this. So I have the Chelsea first team squad on screen here because we're going to analyze different aspects of it as we go along in this video. But we're going to kick things off by analyzing Chelsea's record and underlying stats in all competitions since Potter took over from Thomas Tuchel in September 2022. So Chelsea have played 25 games in all competitions since then, with 9 wins, 9 losses, and 7 draws. And as bad as this looks, I think we'll get a better idea of Potter's performance by breaking these games down into 2 halves. The first half will look at all games before the January transfer window, so all games in 2022, and the second half will be all games including and after the January transfer window, so 2023. So Chelsea played 15 games under Potter in 2022 with 8 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses, which is a pretty decent start for a new manager taking over a big club like Chelsea. In these 15 games, they've scored 21 goals, conceded just 13, and had 58% of the ball on average. And the underlying XG stats back this up, as they've scored about as many goals as expected and conceded 4 less than expected, which is quite normal for a top European club. And based on XG alone, Potter should probably have won 2 more games in this period, but this tends to happen under a new manager where you end up drawing instead of winning or losing instead of drawing. So on balance, Potter did a decent job in his first 3 to 4 months in charge with about 1.8 points per game. Since then, however, things have gone downhill, and they've gone downhill fast. From drawing with Nottingham Forest on January 1st till their loss against Southampton last weekend, Chelsea have just 1 win, 4 draws, and 5 losses in 10 games. And while their defensive record has stayed relatively consistent when compared to 2022, they have massively struggled in front of goal, scoring just 4 goals in these last 10 games. Based on expected goals alone, they should have about 8 or 9 goals more, which means their finishing has been absolutely terrible since the turn of the new year. We get a better understanding of the impact of poor finishing by looking at specific games in 2023. Take the first game against Fulham as an example. Chelsea could have easily had 2 more goals to go on and win that game. And this isn't just based on XG stats. Chelsea had 20 shots to Fulham's 8. They created 4 big chances and missed 3 of them, while Fulham just created the 1 and took their chance. And in case you're wondering what a big chance is, I've put up the official definition according to Opta on your screen now. Even the second game against Fulham that Chelsea ended up drawing should have been a win for Chelsea, either 1-0 or 2-1, because they had 12 shots to Fulham's 10. They created 2 big chances and missed both, while Fulham didn't create a single big chance in that game. So instead of Fulham taking 4 points from these 2 games against Chelsea, Chelsea should be the one having 4 points or 6 from these 2 games. And there's one more game in this stretch of 10 games that Chelsea should have won, and that's the game last weekend against Southampton. Had these 3 results gone in Potter's favor, Chelsea would be sitting 6th in the Premier League on 40 points, just 2 points outside the top 4. Now, I know that every single one of you that's watching this video is a smart, well-informed football fan, because you're interested in going beyond the surface to really figure out what's happening before forming your opinion. In this case, you will know that a coach has massive influence over things like training, tactics, and overall prep before a game, but the manager has little control over the execution of his game plan over 90 minutes. You can coach a set of players on the best patterns of play in the world and still lose a game because your players can't put the ball in the back of the net. And this is exactly what Potter is dealing with at the moment, because while his system is generating decent XG numbers and decent number of big chances per 90, his players just aren't putting on the finishing touch. So how much can you really blame Potter for what's happening? Now let's go back to our squad analysis to look at the potential impact of transfers on Potter's reign as Chelsea boss. It's obvious to the world that the new Chelsea owners were trying to expedite their project for this club, as they spent over 600 million euros since the takeover was completed in May 2022. And they spent 330 of that 600 million in January alone by signing Enzo Fernandez for 121 million, Mihailo Mudryk for 70 million, Badiashile for 38 million, Noni Madueke for 35 million, Andre Santos for 12.5 million, David Fofana for 12 million, and Joao Felix on loan for 11 million. Surely it's a challenge for a new manager to settle 7 new players into the dressing room and ensure that they all adapt to his style of play. Now, I think most Chelsea fans would agree that both Badiashile and Enzo Fernandez have been relatively decent in the games that they've played so far, and Andre Santos hasn't even featured yet. That leaves us with 4 attacking players in Mudryk, Madueke, Fofana, and Felix. Let's take a closer look at how they've performed, as it should tie in pretty well with our previous findings of poor finishing. Now, I've had to dig very deep into individual game stats to research this information, so please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so I can keep bringing you guys detailed analysis just like this. Looking at shooting stats first, we see that Joao Felix has been the most productive with 16 shots and 2.64 xG, but he's also missed the most big chances at 4. Chelsea fans that watch most games will not be surprised at this, as you can probably just close your eyes and picture him missing a bunch of chances. I suppose the lack of output from Mudryk and Madueke is a little disappointing, even though this is a small sample size. And Fofana is yet to really play any meaningful minutes for us to comment on his impact. If you showed me just these stats, I'd say they've had anywhere between 4 to 6 goals between them in the 800 or so minutes that they've played. But sadly, combined, they've only managed 1 goal so far, and that was from Felix against West Ham. And looking at their creativity stats, the story is quite similar. Combined, these guys have created 12 chances with expected assists of 1.11, but they have 0 assists to their name. While both sets of these stats are really disappointing, it just goes to show that they are yet to adjust to both Potter's system and the Premier League. I fully expect these players to start producing better output in 6 to 12 months' time as they adapt to the pace and physicality of the Premier League and have a full preseason in the summer to learn Potter's system. Now, I think we're all familiar with the fact that Chelsea have been struggling with injuries this season. So for our final talking point, I want to analyze exactly how severe these injuries have been and how much they have impacted Potter's season so far. Out of the 24 players that you see on screen here, at least 11 have missed games under Potter. Just look at some of these names. Raheem Sterling, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, and N'Golo Kante. You could argue that Potter could have used every single one of these 11 players in some of the games that he played. This dire situation has forced Potter to use 18-year-old left back Lewis Hall in midfield and hand out first team debuts to Omari Hutchinson and Bashir Humphreys. Personally, I wouldn't wish these many injuries on my worst enemy, let alone the first English manager that has any level of respect in European football. So given all of the information that we've just uncovered, do we have an answer yet? Is Potter the right man for the job? Let's first recap all of the issues we've uncovered in this video, starting with number 1, Chelsea's finishing has been woefully bad under Potter, especially since the turn of the year, which explains why they've been struggling to win games. Number 2, Potter has had to bed in 7 new players into a team that hadn't gotten used to his system in the first place. Number 3, Potter has missed 11 first-team players to injuries during his tenure, most of whom could be considered in the starting rotation. And the fourth and final issue that we haven't really talked about yet is that Potter has faced pressure. Pressure from the new players adding so much talent at his disposal, pressure from everyone expecting him to be the first English super manager like Klopp or Pep, and the pressure of replacing a great manager in Thomas Tuchel, who most people believe was let go far too soon. And to me, all of this pressure traces back to the new Chelsea ownership wanting to be successful now. Todd Boehly and co are trying to sprint in a marathon. Their objectives are impossible enough to achieve with an established and experienced coach like Thomas Tuchel, but they are expecting someone like Potter, who's at his first big club in Chelsea, to take them to new heights in a record time. I don't care how patient you are as an ownership group, the fans will eventually turn against Potter and force your hand in firing him. So, do I think Potter is the right man for the job? He could be. I think he could be if he got enough time. Unfortunately though, I don't think any of us will ever find out. Get in the comments with your thoughts, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.